here for Indiana. Dangerous pass by Hull, and Caldwell jumps the...
McBride earned her 5th All-Star nod as Boston found Hull cutting backdoor against Williams. Hull absorbed the contact, finished the layup and converted the foul. Career night for Lexie Hull. The first half alone saw her rack up 18 points in just 20 minutes, and afterwards she explained it simply. It felt good to see shots fall. But more than that, she knew the Fever were missing bodies and she had to play with confidence. Take on a bigger load and stay aggressive offensively. This was her mindset, and she delivered. Lexie Hull put on the game of her life. The Fever rode her momentum, but the night quickly soured. A huge third-quarter run from Minnesota crushed Indiana's lead, and the injuries piled higher. Chloe By and Odyssey Sims both went down, joining Caitlin Clark, Sophie Cunningham, Sydney Carlson, and Ari McDonald on the injured list. 6 rotation players now unavailable, leaving the Fever paper-thin in the middle of a playoff chase. The resilience was there, but frustration drowned it out. Post-game, Stephanie White praised Hull for her aggressiveness. Hull herself admitted she had to step up, knowing the team was depleted. Yet questions swirled over coaching decisions and why another halftime lead slipped away. Still, Hull's words and performance sparked fire in the locker room. Fans echoed it too. Lexie turned a broken night into a rallying point. Boston drained a 3 as Hull cut inside again, piling on points. This was the Lexie Hull show. She dropped 23 on 9 for 16 shooting, including 4 of 7 from deep, across nearly 37 minutes. Against Minnesota's stacked depth, Hull never blinked. She came in ready to shoulder the load, telling reporters afterwards she expected to play nearly the entire game, tired legs and all, because the team was simply out of options. Her offense wasn't scripted, it was instinct. She read the defense, cut hard, knocked down open looks and stayed in constant motion. By halftime she had 18, carrying Indiana's offense while the game was still in the balance. Every make mattered. Her early threes were pure, her cuts lethal, and she gave the Fever energy they desperately needed. It wasn't just the numbers, it was the way she attacked. Hull was relentless, cutting, sprinting, crashing the glass, forcing defenders to chase. She wasn't waiting for the game to come to her, she was hunting it. White noticed too, crediting her for being aggressive and hunting shots instead of fading into a role. For the first time this season, Hull carried herself like a primary scorer. The Fever felt alive during her run. Mitchell created, the bench erupted, the confidence spread. Fans sensed it too, that maybe this team, even broken down, still had a punch. But that punch was short-lived. One player, no matter how hot, couldn't patch the cracks left by a gutted roster. Hull was a hero, but the second half was brutal. Clark has been sidelined since July 15th with a groin injury. Cunningham tore her MCL. Carlson's ACL ended her year. McDonald was shut down with a foot injury. That was for key losses before tip-off, then by felt knee soreness in warm-ups and sat as a precaution. Sims exited in the 4th, never to return, awaiting evaluation. White explained By had been battling soreness, but they couldn't risk further damage. As for Sims, no answers. Yet she just asked out late, forcing Petty, signed on a hardship deal, to run point. It left Hull as the only true wing standing. Lineups were patched together, guards out of sync, and fatigue obvious by the third quarter. The offense broke down without rhythm. Boston fought for position inside, but passes came late or off target. To new point guards being thrown into the system mid-season showed in every possession. Turnovers mounted, shots rushed. White admitted it. They're trying to survive by committee. Turner was forced to guard multiple spots, rotations shifted. Awkwardly, spacing evaporated. The only way forward was to turn defense into transition. But even defense collapsed under heavy legs. Minnesota punished every late rotation. The Fever's spirit showed they wore MVP Kelsey shirts per game as a badge of pride, but every injury felt like another hammer to their playoff hopes. Hull gave them her best, and for a stretch, she carried Indiana's heartbeat. But by the end, the reality was clear. This team is battered, stretched beyond its limits. and struggling to hold on.
Mismatch inside, it doesn't.
Here's Wheeler. Off to Malunga.
Pride can inspire, but it doesn't replace the missing bodies, and for Indiana, that meant the weight fell squarely on the shoulders of whoever was left standing. Veterans and newcomers alike were forced to scramble, plugging holes and carrying burdens that were never supposed to be theirs. Kelsey Mitchell felt that weight the most. Before tip-off, her teammates honored her by wearing MVP Kelsey shirts, a rare show of recognition for the franchise's true cornerstone. After the game, Mitchell admitted she was humbled and grateful, saying her teammates make her feel valued and important, a connection she holds close. But once the ball was in play, she backed up that honor the only way she knows how, by delivering. Mitchell poured in 27 points, 5 assists, and went 5-4-7 from deep, once again proving she's the engine that keeps Indiana alive. Even with Minnesota draped over her defensively, she refused to let the fever fold. Lexie Hull was right beside her, seizing her moment in the spotlight. Career-high 23 points across 37 exhausting minutes, all while playing like a woman determined to drag her team into the fight. She hunted shots, attacked the lane, and looked nothing like a role player. Hull was the heartbeat of the Fever's first half and the reason Indiana believed they could hang with the league's best. Aaliyah Boston did her part too. Her numbers, 15 points and 6 rebounds, didn't leap off the page, but they mattered. She fought inside against waves of bigger bodies with no real backup, giving the Fever at least a steady presence when everything else was shaky. Critics expected more dominance, but considering how gutted the front court was, Boston's toughness and effort were the only reason Indiana wasn't buried earlier. Then came the surprise spark. Shea Petty, fresh off a hardship contract, barely practiced with the team, yet she came in fearless. 10 points, 3 of 4 from deep, and the kind of composure Indiana desperately needed. Her shooting gave the Fever instant life, though her lack of familiarity with the offense showed when it came to running the team. Still, her presence mattered. She gave Indiana something out of not. Hull's hot hand, Mitchell's leadership, Boston's steadiness, and Petty's spark kept Indiana punching for stretches. But the game unraveled exactly where it always seems to, the third quarter. Indiana entered halftime with a lead, then Minnesota detonated. A 30-27 third quarter ripped the game wide open, erasing all of Indiana's hard work in minutes. The Fever's defense crumbled, rotations were late, box-outs vanished, and Boston was stranded under the rim against 2 or 3 bodies at a time. The Lynx spread the floor, attacked straight-line drives, and lived on second chances. Indiana had no answer. That's where the spotlight turned on Stephanie White. This wasn't the first time Indiana's halftime fire turned into a second-half collapse. Fans and analysts are seeing a pattern. The Fever looked prepared early, then get out-coached after the break. Minnesota adjusted. Indiana didn't. Coverages stayed the same. Pressure was minimal and the Lynx punished them. White pointed to turnovers, new point guards still learning the system, and breakdowns in defensive assignments. All true, but the frustration lingers. The same cracks keep showing game after game. The players themselves never quit. White praised them for battling through adversity, for refusing to fold when the game broke open, and for building a cultural foundation rooted in toughness and loyalty. And she's right about that. Their heart is undeniable, but heart alone doesn't. Erase losses, and in the standings, losses matter. The Fever are clinging to 6th place, barely half a game ahead of 7th, and just a game and a half clear of 9th. That's the danger zone. Every collapse like this eats away at their playoff cushion. The clock is ticking and patience is thin, so the question becomes unavoidable. Is this a coaching issue, too slow to adjust, or is this roster simply too battered by injuries to be judged fairly? Fans are divided, but the debate is loud. One thing isn't up for debate, though. Lexie Hull's performance. Her 23 points weren't empty stats. They were a glimpse of what she could be when given real opportunity. Alongside Mitchell's brilliance and Boston's steadiness, it showed there's still a foundation worth believing in. But belief only lasts so long. The Fever face Minnesota again on Sunday. lose again, and that thin playoff margin shrinks. Even further, Lexie gave fans reason to hope, but Indiana must prove they can finish games, not just start them. If you're riding with Lexie and the Fever, drop Lexie Show in the comments. And don't forget to like, subscribe and turn on notifications, because this story is far from finished.